Welcome back to Understanding Human Anatomy and part 2 of our discussion of the GI tract. Now, I want to add to the diagram we ended the last video on, and one of the things I'm going to add is a organ we left out over here, and that would be the spleen. Now, the spleen is not part of the GI tract. It develops from mesoderm in the dorsal mesogastrum. But because it is a peritoneal structure and it is very visible at this point, I just want to put this in to make everything complete. So again, not part of the GI tract, but seen with the GI tract and shares a vascular supply with the GI tract. So the spleen is right here. Next, I want to sketch in the transverse colon. And I'll start with the right colic flexure. And since the transverse colon is not immune to gravity, it does sag in the middle. You notice that the colon has little sacculations called haustra, which I'm attempting to draw in here. And I've cut off the ascending and descending colons in this diagram because they would be very posterior on the wall, on the posterior body wall, so they wouldn't really be seen. And let's see if we can get this colored in. And give me a minute and I'll touch up the coloring. There, that's got the transverse colon colored in. And let me add a label here. Like so. And again, let me point out that these sacculations are called haustra. And they are a normal outpocketing of the large intestine that we see is helpful in identifying the large intestine. The other structure that I haven't drawn in, but I will now, and that is the Taenia Kohli. And these are bands that run the length of the intestine, the large intestine. And there are 3 of them spaced equally around the circumference of the large intestine. But they also are diagnostic. They stand out quite readily when you're looking at the intestine. So let me add a label for that. And whenever you're looking at the large intestine, you're only going to see the taenia on the side that's facing you. So as I said, there's 3 of them, but they're not visible in this view. So now we have the transverse colon and the Taenia Kohli. Next, I'm going to sketch in the attachment of the greater omentum, and it runs along the transverse colon and along the greater curvature of the stomach and then back onto the transverse colon. And I'm just going to draw it down as far as we can see here. Like so. And we'll color it in with a gray color. And again, if you give me a minute, I'll touch up the coloring. Okay, this now is the greater omentum, and I'll put a label in here. And again, the bottom of this is cut off. It would actually extend below the level of the screen. Although when you look at any given cadaver, the greater omentum may be this nice sheet-like apron, or it may be short, it may be very ragged. Every one is different. Remember, however, from our discussion of the peritoneal cavity, that the greater omentum forms from an outgrowth of the dorsal mesogastrum that fuses with the transverse mesocolon, and thus it will attach both to the transverse colon and to the greater curvature of the stomach. And the last organ I'm going to draw in for this slide will be the liver. So the liver takes up a great deal of space. Like so. And let me color that in. And like I've done before, let me finish coloring this in. There we have the liver colored in now, and I will put a label on the liver just so everybody's on the same page. So this is now the liver in green. And what I want you to realize is that there is the remnant of the ventral mesentery the falciform ligament. And the falciform ligament would be running along here right about like so, and passing to the body wall. In the very inferior edge of the falciform ligament, there's a nice round ligament, the ligamentum teres. And the ligamentum teres is a remnant of the umbilical vein. So, let me draw in some labels. So, the falciform ligament, the ligamentum teres, on the very inferior border of the falciform ligament. And again, ligamentum teres is a remnant of the umbilical vein, so it would pass all the way along the body wall to the umbilicus. Then we can see that the falciform ligament divides the liver into a right lobe and a left lobe. In the next video, we'll take a look inferior to this level, inferior to the level of the duodenum, and look at the intestines. And then we'll go on to take a closer look at the liver. Thank you for your attention.